We're back.
We're back.
The Five Guys podcast number 7?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I forgot that we press record, and I forgot you were like, you're in it. You're in
I always turn on.
You're always on. You're always on. I love it. Yeah. I guess we're live. I guess we're back.
We're live.
We're back.
That's the only way I know how to do it.
I love it. Well, welcome back to the Five Guys podcast, boys and girls. Everyone's welcome. Cats, dogs alike. Yeah. Do you want to hit them with the intro? What are we talking about today?
So welcome to the Five Guys podcast. This podcast is the guide that takes you down the path to financial independence, or FI as we like to call it.
Yep.
I'm your host, Chris, and this is Dominic.
Howdy.
In this episode, we're going to be diving into finding your why. I also like to call that the Wi-Fi or the FI why.
Yeah.
I think it's really important I know in the last podcast, we kind of started diving really deep into exactly every mechanic of financial independence. And I feel that for some of our viewers, we might have lost them. Mm-hmm. So what I think we should do is maybe, and I'm really excited about this, taking a step back and let's make a FI crash course.
I love it.
I think we can, over the next 12 episodes, we're just going to take one subject at a time. Mm-hmm. In this subject, I think it's the most crucial thing of them all is finding your why. Why are you trying to pursue financial independence? Because I can tell you from personal experience, this isn't always the easiest path, and it's a very unconventional path. Mm-hmm. So when you define at the beginning, I think it was Simon Sinek in his book, Start With Why, he talks about if you're able to define that at the beginning, you can actually kind of elevator pitch that to yourself, elevator pitch it to your spouse, because maybe that might be a difficult thing to have bring someone else into this path with you. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about is finding your why. We're going to talk about our whys and stuff like that.
A lot of exciting stuff. I'm excited for this new course we have, though. It's I think it's needed. I think it's definitely needed. A good framework, and it gives you a good foundational, good foundation for finance if you're new to it. Not everybody is obsessed and as nerdy with finance as we are.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah, there's enough of us around, so that's why that you wouldn't have us and we wouldn't have you. It's a perfect relationship.
So Dom, tell me about your week. What did you do before we dive into everything?
This is almost unrelated to finance.
That's totally fine.
Totally fine. I slept on my back completely wrong. I was reading the study where it's like if you sleep on your stomach, you often bring a leg up and that pinches the lower back. And that's exactly what I did about 4 nights ago.
Huh.
So I'm done sleeping on my stomach. I'm sleeping all on my side. Might even try like a Dracula, sleeping on my back, hands crossed. Yeah, with little gold coins on my eyes. But other than that, I had to take a little bit of time off the gym. But I'm very tempted to go back to the gym right after this recording. Just get something simple and maybe just do some arms or something, hit the sauna.
Like I tell you, they're opening that new gym down the street. As soon as they do, I have the passes already ready so I can take a guest. So
I love it.
I can go and train together, get a little bit extra time, some more fun.
That'd be fun.
When it comes to talking about sleeping on your stomach, I've been able to sleep on my stomach since I got in a bad car crash years and years ago. Actually broke my lower lumbar.
Really?
Yeah, so when I realized that whenever you sleep on your stomach, depending on how soft your bed is, it's a lot of pressure on your lower back.
Yeah.
So I'm a side sleeper and a back sleeper.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm sleeping on my side, I'm usually pretty good, but when I sleep on my back, my wife says I snore. I don't believe it, but my wife says I snore.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then for me this last week, my best friends and I, we all got married actually within the last year and a half. Mm-hmm. So each time someone would get married, let's do a bachelor party. Cool. And we try to plan it out, mm-hmm. and it's very difficult to get us all together because we're all in different parts of the country. Mm-hmm. So this last weekend, we finally did our 3-way bachelor party.
I love it.
We went out to the Kern River. That's out in California, right outside of LA in Bakersfield. And we did a 2-day whitewater rafting trip.
That's awesome.
Lots of fun. But that kind of brings us back to finding your why. For some of the people there who weren't as fit, mm-hmm. You can definitely see that by day 2, they were struggling to make it. Mm-hmm. And I think had those people had a definitive why they're doing this, some people came with their families. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure for some of those people that were really struggling, they said, my why right now, the reason I'm going to fight through doing another day of whitewater rafting, because it is pretty tiring.
It's strenuous if you're not physically, fit.
If not, and they'll let anyone on as long as you pay. They'll let you come.
Yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of those people were saying like the reason I'm here is to spend time with my family, and I need to push through that. And that kind of leads back to finding your why up front, because that way when things are getting tough, like when you're on the when you're about to hit another category 4 whitewater raft. And you're looking at it, you're like, I don't know if I want to do this. Can I just tell the guy to just push me off the side?
I'm about to get thrown overboard.
I'm going to fall off anyways. Might as well just do it. You know, but it's those kind of things, finding that why up front to say, like, I'm doing this for my family. You can even say, I already paid the money. I'm going to finish it off. Whatever your why is, you're going to do it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think finding your why up front is very important. I know for me, and I know for you, you've mentioned your why many times, but for me, it's like, I want to just have the freedom to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it. You know, if I want to just make videos on finance or anything else and just do that all day, I can do it, you know, or if I want to like start a little new recipe, I can do it, you know, and I don't have to be tied down by a job or worse, but tied down by finance and debt and putting myself in a bad situation. So, I mean, it's definitely, and I think I read this thing, it was like making your why bigger than you is really important, because a lot of times people have no problem letting themselves down, but I'm not going to let down, you know, my future wife or my parents or work colleagues. I don't want to let them down, you know, so making it bigger than just you.
And I could talk to that, I mean, quite a bit. I mean, I was already on the path to 5 before I got married to my wife. I was actually doing it while we were dating and everything, but you know, once we actually got married, it even supercharged even more, you know, because now we want to even spend more time together. My wife's a doctor, so she's very, very busy. But it just makes those moments that you do have together that much more valuable.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, in addition to that, I don't have kids yet. We're planning on having kids eventually, but you've met all my animals.
Yep.
I have 3 dogs and a cat, and those are like my kids. So for me, it's being able to make sure I have valuable time. For people who are just listening on the podcast, right in front of me here on YouTube, I work hard so my dogs can have a better life mug. And
I love
that is very much true. But yeah, I mean, for me, that's, you know, you talked about your FI, and first, it sounds to me like it's a lot about being able to pursue your passions, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And not necessarily taking or stopping work just for the sake of never working again, because you can only play backgammon for so long before you get tired.
Yeah.
But more just to be able to have the security to do what you want, and if it doesn't work out, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's what America was founded on, just freedom. You know, freedom. That's it. And we're just trying to achieve a part of that. And I feel like financial freedom is the first step to truly being free.
Yeah. So, I mean, we just got to make sure that whenever we're pursuing FI, you know, it's making sure that we know that our end goal is to have enough assets to cover our living expenses without relying on unemployment.
Yeah.
Remember that most people, when they hit FI, like I said, they don't just quit their life, because that's a good way to die real fast, because you have no more purpose. You know, most people, they actually continue to make money after they've reached that FI, or they get to pursue a lifelong passion that they've always wanted. That's actually my story.
Yeah.
You know, be able to do this, have this podcast, and be a financial advisor and help other people achieve what I've been able to achieve.
I love that.
You know?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so I say when we talk about FI, there's the 3 principles. We've talked about this on past podcasts, but remember, it comes down to just 3 fundamentals. Number 1 is spend less. So reducing expenses is key to building wealth.
For sure.
I think the second principle is earning more. You know, you can always earn more money, so you can increase your income. That's going to accelerate you on that path to FI. And the final thing is invest better.
Yeah.
You know?
I think each one of those are equally as important, because you can always spend too much, you can always make too little, and you can always make bad investment decisions. So each one should be taken very seriously.
Yeah, and they all work together, right? Unfortunately, most people, as they earn more, they begin to spend more too.
Yeah.
So if you just keep that like spending level and accrue it over time, then that gives you more time, right? It's always how much money you're bringing in minus your expenses is that gap.
Yeah.
And that gap is what allows us to pursue FI.
Absolutely.
That's the driver of FI.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't want to be working your whole life just to die, you know?
No, and unfortunately, that's the common path, right? Most people, you know, especially in our age demographic, they go to college.
Yeah.
They end up leaving college 6 figures in debt.
Yeah.
And now they spend the next 20 years trying to get back to zero.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's rough.
you know,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that college is wrong for everybody.
College is great.
I'm a proponent of college. I went to college.
Same.
Yeah, you went to college. I think both of us, we just made sure that when we went to college, it wasn't just for a silly thing. We went there with an actual purpose.
Yeah.
And I wanted to actually learn something that could actually help me out in the long run.
Yeah.
And there was fun along the way too.
Yeah. Of course. You're saying my liberal arts degree wasn't useful?
Mine was in psychology, so it was also
Okay.
fun, so.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, we definitely have to align with your spending values as well, and it can make or break. This is one thing I think is so interesting that you kind of brought up a little bit earlier, that you started FI before your relationship, but it's super important that your person, your couple, your partner is also on the same page.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because you don't want to have one person who makes all the money and spends all the money. You know, it's like you have to be one. You have to be a unit, a cohesive unit, and you both have to know your values and, you know, spend it on the same goal that you guys have towards, you know?
Yeah, I think it's kind of might be a mean thing to say, but unfortunately, the biggest expense you're going to have in your life, or like the biggest negative expense you can have in your life, is finding the wrong partner.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Because eventually you might
Yeah.
lead to divorce, but majority of divorces, I think it's like 60 or 70% of divorces is due to finance.
Yeah.
So making sure that you guys are on the same page, and I think a lot of it just comes down to talking about your values with your partner. And eventually, at the end of this podcast, I'm going to give everyone a homework assignment, so that way they can take it to the next podcast and have a little bit of something. But I'm going to urge you to do that with your partner.
Yeah.
And I'll urge it again when we get to the end. But yeah, understanding your values are crucial, but then understanding your values as a couple is also very crucial, because if you are in a couple, if you're not in a couple, you know, those once you do join a couple, it's not just about you all the time anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't even have to be a couple thing. Like, it can be a family thing too. You know, imagine it, instead of rather just having like your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your husband or your wife, you know, it can be mom and dad, the brothers, all. Imagine having an entire cohesive family all focused on one financial goal, you know? Or if it was like, I heard that this is really common in Arabic cultures, where all of the families, they pool their money together. So they'll get one big house, they'll get multiple cars, and they'll just pool all their money together. And it's just like, it's so interesting to me. It's like the entire family unit is directed towards a specific financial goal. Say it's like invest X amount of dollars or get a piece of real estate, you know, something like that. I think that's so beautiful. I think finance can be a very beautiful thing.
It is. And you think about like those cultural demographics and how important they are. You know, I'm Hawaiian and I'm Spanish, or Mexican.
And I'm white as toast.
There
There you go.
There's the skin.
Yeah. We got to color grade this in post. For those that don't know, when we get the recording back, I'm as white as a ghost. Like, I'm very pale, especially compared to Chris. And I always have to like color grade it. So
He color grades it halfway down.
yeah. So if I stick my hands over here and it's like, why is Dom so white when he goes over there? It's like, no, don't worry.
Yeah, don't look at it.
Don't look at that. Don't look at that. But yeah, I'm a little bit whiter in person. But yeah, you were saying about the culture.
Yeah, but I think when you have a cultural thing, or when the whole family is engaged, it just brings it that much more life and constant thought process. So in Mexican culture, there's the quinceañera. So when the girl turns 15, they have this huge party. And you know, I grew up not with a lot of money, and I saw a lot of these families throwing these huge parties, and I knew that they didn't have a lot of money either.
Very lavish.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out, how do they do this? So when a girl is born in Spanish culture, Mexican culture, they start saving from day one for that quinceañera.
Really?
Yeah, and the family, usually the dad and that family is just trying to save, and sometimes they'll even bring in other members of the family to help contribute to that. Now imagine if we were able to take that, but then unfortunately in a lot of Mexican cultures, saving is not a big thing, or like investing, reaching financial independence isn't very culturally normal.
I find that they live for today.
Yeah, and that's great. You
And
should
that's
look
great.
at that.
And you know what's interesting? The Mexicans are usually the happiest people.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
They're just the happiest
It's
people.
so much fun.
I love them. They're so amazing.
It's so much fun.
They're so amazing.
yeah.
Half my family's Mexican, actually. Fun fact.
Really?
Yeah, my mom is my great grandparents are actually from Mexico.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't tell because like
No.
the other's half is like my great grandparents are from like Italy and Ireland, but yeah,
Very white.
You can see the whiteness on
They
it.
take it away.
Yep.
Yeah, you can tell from your mom that she's not like full white.
No.
But yeah, I think it's important, like if you have that cultural tie to and that family dynamic to also like push you, it allows you just to really align your values and leading to more fulfillment.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So, do you want to identify our Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Now, we're not talking about internet here. Our phi, our Y of phi.
Or our phi Y
Phi Y.
or Y of phi. Yeah.
It's the joke is there.
The Y of phi, I think phi Y is pretty funny sounding.
They're both great.
Yeah, but I mean, when it comes down to the listener, I mean, understanding your phi is 100% crucial because, like we talked about, this is an unconventional path, and a lot of your friends might not understand it. If you're saying, "Hey, I'm not going to go out with you guys this time," they might make fun of you. They might do something like that. But remember, you are the aggregate of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Yeah. So I'm not saying lose your friends if they don't accept your phi path, because remember, everyone needs their time to come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
If Dom came to me and said, "I'm going to start spending all my money," I would also be taken aback for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I would probably take me some time, and I would probably try to tell him, "You don't want to do that either. It sounds silly."
It sounds silly. Yeah, I think it's important, like Chris was just saying, to also have those checks and balances. Have friends that aren't afraid to tell you, "Hey, that's a bad decision."
Oh yeah.
That's not a good idea. And a real friend will tell you that what you're doing is not a great idea. Now, granted, you got to take that with a grain of salt, because a lot of friends mean well, but they also don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So, careful where you get your information. But
you got to make sure you also have good friends. Think about this for yourself and for other people. When you hear that your best friend got a raise or is buying a house, is the first thing that you think of is good for them? Yeah. Or is you think, damn it, that's not me? Yeah. Because unfortunately, a lot of us have those friends that think that, damn, that's not me. And they get a little jealous. And I'm not saying it's not okay to be a little jealous, but you want to surround yourself with people who
uplift
you and think like, oh, wow, Dom got a raise or whatever. That's super cool. Great for Dom. Not, damn it, I didn't get a raise. I deserve a raise more than Dom.
Yeah. Yeah, you want those positive friends that can be proud of you. It's not all competition. Competition's good, but it's good to be a good friend.
Yeah. And remember, if maybe you don't have those types of people readily available to you, when I said that quote, you're the aggregate of the 5 most people you spend the most time with, that doesn't need to be in person. It could be something like reading books. That's how I was able to learn and kind of grow up, was by reading books by Warren Buffett, Bill Ackman, Ray Dalio. Yep. Starting to learn from them. And then podcast is a great one. YouTube is a great one.
Absolutely.
One of the big reasons we started our podcast is to make sure that we actually got good financial information out there, because you got to be careful when you go down the YouTube rabbit hole or down the TikTok rabbit hole, because sometimes it gets a little dicey.
It does.
As to the recommendations, but just finding good sources of information. Books are usually the best way to go, because at some point someone had to take time to actually write the book. It's not just kind of off the cuff like we're doing during our podcast. Yeah. We could certainly say something wrong and we'd just kind of let it go. But with a book, you have to read it, and someone has to edit it. Yeah. And they're not going to let that much BS flow through.
The easier it is, it's like the easier it is for someone to put something out, the more suspicious you should be.
Yeah.
It's easy to make a TikTok. It's harder to publish a book.
That's true.
And it's even harder to have a bestseller or 10,000 copies sold, become a classic. Like some of those Ray Dalio books you were saying.
Yeah, some of my favorite TikToks I don't really watch them at all. It's just some people send them to me. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a client and they're going, "Hey, I saw this on TikTok. Can we do this?" And then I have to go, "We can do a part of this," but they left out huge parts of it. Yeah. But if there's just some guy that picks up their phone and starts talking into it, and it's like them inside of their Honda Civic, and they're telling you, Honda Civics are great cars, but
nothing wrong with
it. No, but they have their '93 Honda Civic, and they're telling you how to live your life.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's like you should take advice from people who you want to be on what they're talking about. You wouldn't take cooking advice from someone who only eats ramen noodles every night.
Yeah.
You don't know nothing about the 5-star cuisines and stuff like that. You wouldn't take financial advice from someone who's broke and is bad with money.
Yeah, no, that's important. And unfortunately, that's a lot of the influencers out there. They kind of they sell the lifestyle. They don't sell.
Yeah. They're trying to push a course or something like that, and we're not selling anything, guys. We're just doing this out of the goodness of our heart. And this is fun. We take enjoyment. This is like our hobby.
Yeah, it's great for you. You get to learn some stuff. I get to actually try to make my ideas speakable, so that when I'm talking with my clients, I don't have to kind of run around in circles to say something. Yeah. So it's good for both of us. And
I mean, it's interesting too. It's like just on YouTube, we have, just in the short amount of time that we've been posting stuff, we have 3,500 views, and it's like that's 3,500 people that saw our content.
Yeah, and might get something out of it, because you never know what person and in what sequence of words they're going to say that might make an impact on somebody. I remember for me, when I first found Fi, I think it was probably on a podcast. And the reason that I fell so hard into financial independence for me was I hated the job I was working at. I did the traditional path. I went to college, I got a good job, I was making good money, but it was a grind. And I knew that it was not something that would be sustainable. It wasn't something that I enjoyed. It legitimately sucked my life force away from me.
Yeah.
So my Fi, the reason that it needed to happen so quick was it was kind of like a do or die situation. Like, I need this to happen because I don't know how much longer I can make it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's a scary place to be.
It is scary.
And a lot of people are there.
Yeah, and they're there every day. And they're there every day. But once you start to kind of grow and you can have a little bit, once you get that little bit of security of having a little bit of a savings, and then from there you got to have a plan where you're actually investing money and you get to see your money growing. You'd be like, hey, right now I get to this point where I have 6 months. If I had lost my job, I can make it for 6 months. Then imagine that going to a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't have to bring in income for the next 10 years. And then at that point, now I need to really figure something out.
Yeah.
But there's no way in heck I'm going to sit around for 10 years doing nothing.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's beautiful. I think that's really beautiful. I read this study where it was saying that they did this test on rats, and this will tie in, don't worry. It's going to get out there for a second. But they did this study on rats, and it was saying they tested the speed at which the rat was running, and they relate the rat to humans. And basically the test was saying that the rat ran fast towards food when it was hungry. But when they tested it again with a cat behind it, like the smell of a cat.
Okay.
And the mouse ran faster. So the kind of like the bio of it, or the results of it, was basically you can run towards Fi, and that's great. That's awesome. And we're going to get there. Like, I want to be financially independent. And that's awesome. But if you want to get there quicker, focus on what you're running from, because you're going to run, say you're in a dark forest and you see like this creature running towards you, you're going to run pretty far away, pretty fast, So the important thing is, like, for me at least, what I'm running towards is having the ability to do whatever I want, whenever I want, record 10 podcasts in a week, have hot cocoa, just experience life, go to restaurants, movies, all that fun stuff. But what I'm running away from is that 9 to 5. I'm running away from that cubicle for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. And I'm running away from the fact that if I don't get in control of my finance, I won't be able to spend time with the people that I love, and their time is limited.
Yeah. That's a big thing for me too, is because my wife, she's a doctor. When we have kids, she's not going to be the one who's going to take a step back from work to be there with the kids. When I was growing up, both my parents were military. Yeah. So I remember being raised by my grandparents and stuff like that. And I wanted to be sure that I wasn't going to repeat that thing. So when I have my kids, I want to be able to be sure that I am there for them every single day. And I want them to be like, I can't remember a day that dad wasn't home annoying us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I mean, you can definitely see like how important that is to you, just in the way, like, your eyes and everything. And I think that's really when like you have a good why, a good strong why, it's important to you. Yeah,
and there's so many different types of whys, right? I mean, mine might be family time, but another big one of my whys is travel. And I think that the travel even plays into the family time, because you're traveling and you're building what I could call memory dividends.
Yeah,
You have this, while it may have cost money right now, it's going to give me something to remember with me and my wife for the rest of our life. We get to look back on these times. But for other people, it could just be financial security, just to not feel like you're stuck in a situation. It could have been a career change, it could be retirement, like you, just to have autonomy over your time. Yeah. That's huge.
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing better than waking up in the morning and not having to go to a job and knowing that you're financially set. It's like, hey, I mean, you guys know the feeling, like when you're on vacation, it's like the first day of vacation, you wake up and you're like, what are we going to do today? What are we going to do today? It's like, that's what I'm shooting for with finance, with Fi. That's my Wi-Fi.
Yeah. I'll tell you, for me, when I finally got to that stage, and I like to call myself, I'm at Wi-Fi. So as long as my wife is still making money, we're good to go.
Yeah.
I have enough on my end, but we together, when you combine, it's a little bit different. But, oh shoot, where was I going with this? What was I talking about a second ago?
You were talking about Wi-Fi, and you're like halfway, because she works as a
Okay.
doctor and stuff. Because I know, like for us, I don't know, for most guys, like we could eat ramen noodles, chicken and rice for like
100%.
forever, for a long time. Like we're in a real nice house right now. We don't really need a big house. Like we can live very Spartan-like. It's not a problem. Do we want to live like that? Not all my life, But when you're saying like your wife works, she brings in good money, you bring in good money. You're at the point now where you can sustain yourself without having to, do the 9 to 5 or do your job and stuff.
But when you combine also with your partner, like we talked about earlier, then things need to change a little bit. So I don't have that amount of money right now to have for both to be able to retire. But I don't think my wife loves her job.
Yeah.
She's not going to want to retire.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's awesome. Like, if you have a job and you're passionate about it, you wake up and you're like, this is great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super awesome.
And that doesn't mean, a lot of people's why, unfortunately, is escaping the rat race. And there are some people that might be listening and say, I love working. Like, I never wanted to change. I want to work forever. And that's great.
Yeah.
And you should continue to do that, but also pursuing FI, because you don't know one day you might wake up and that might change.
Yeah.
Or you can get like all of a sudden a new boss comes in, or you get some new clients or whatever. And the day shows up where you're just like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, and it's like, it's interesting. It's like if you love your job, say you're like your wife, she's a doctor or whatever, and maybe one day she wakes up and she's like, you know what, I don't really want to practice under my bosses. Maybe I want to start my own practice. Oh, but I don't have any money to I'm rich, but I'm not wealthy.
Yeah.
And that's something we can get into. That might be a whole nother podcast in itself.
That was my journey. After I worked my corporate job for whatever, and it was terrible, and I didn't like it. I was able to build up enough to feel secure enough to take actually a pretty sizable pay cut to move into a financial realm. Because I have experienced finance personally. And I was good at it, but that doesn't mean that I can also be an advisor. So I had to take a pay cut in order to start working under a registered investment advisory firm where they were able to teach me, and I was able to grow there. And I was able to grow there for another few years. And then eventually, due to how much I had saved up, I knew I'm going to go do this on my own, so I don't have to be underneath somebody else. I can really take the clients and do what I think is in the best interest of them and kind of pursue my own way of doing things, knowing that if it doesn't work out, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because I still have money set aside for that. And am I drawing down some of that? Of course I'm drawing down some of that, but it's okay because I can always build it back.
I think there's something so beautiful about having a nice plan.
Yeah.
The fear of uncertainty is a terrible thing to hold inside. It's so important to just come up with a plan. And in today's world, it's so easy. I mean, you could literally go on ChatGPT and be like, could you write me a financial plan? Like, this is how much I make. This is my expenses. Like, or even just like contacting a financial advisor.
Yeah. And I know that's, it's a lot easier nowadays. It's easier than it's ever been. But now there's more information out there. And unfortunately, a lot of the information is contradicting itself.
True.
So again, it comes back to what do you believe?
Yeah.
And I do think that anyone can reach financial independence. I don't by on their own, but if you really want to supercharge that, or if you're that kind of person that says, I want to do it, but I just don't want to invest the time. I'm a doctor, I am a dentist, I'm a whatever.
Yeah.
I don't have time to do that. I think it's a great place to look for a financial advisor and make for someone there that you can actually help out with, right?
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with having someone hold your hand. That's amazing. Like they say, like if you want to go somewhere quicker, go with someone who's already been.
Yeah.
And a financial advisor is just that.
Yep.
You wouldn't, if you're new to the gym and you want to get ripped, like when actors want to get ripped, they get a personal trainer, because they've been there, they know what they're doing. They spend their entire life in this section of the world, and they're experts at it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and then kind of going back to the standard path and like just feeling trapped all the time. It's, I know I've been there, and I know how bad it feels, and then things kind of build up. You have a kid now, and then you just feel like you're just digging a deeper and deeper hole. And unfortunately, the thing that you got to do when you feel that you're digging a hole and you're getting trapped is you need to stop digging.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they just keep on digging because they feel stuck, and then they start to fall down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with debt or, having poor impulse control and just, I want it, I get it, stuff like that. And it's, you have to be disciplined.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, we talked about that last time. We talked about,
Yeah.
extreme ownership.
Extreme
and it
ownership,
just comes down to
chocolate
ownership.
Yep.
But you just have to sometimes buck conventional wisdom
Yeah.
and kind of pursue your own path. And I encourage everyone to search new ideas with us. We're gonna try to throw as many ideas as we possibly can for increasing pay and doing all those things. Have you ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
I feel like I'm about to hear about it.
Really, you never heard of it?
I'm sure I've heard of it,
Okay.
but let's learn me something, teach me something.
So Maslow's hierarchy of needs talks a lot about. Envision a pyramid.
Okay.
On the bottom of the pyramid is your physical needs.
Okay.
So that means air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing,
Gotcha.
reproduction.
He has a chart up here, and I was like, is he going to say that?
I'm going to say it.
He's going to say it. Send it. Yeah, let's go.
So before we start to pursue up the path of the pyramid, we need to make sure that those physiological needs are done. No one's going to try to become a Buddhist monk if they're starving and they don't have and they can't breathe.
Yeah.
Yep. You're not going to try to self-actualize at that point. Right above that is safety needs. So that means your personal security. Do you feel you have employment? Do you have resources? Are you healthy? Do you have a place to lay your head at night?
Yep.
Luckily, here in America, and for many places around the world now, and of course there are other places that aren't, but your physical needs are already met.
Yeah.
Most people are able to have food, water, shelter, and sleep.
Yeah.
And a little bit of clothing. And then a lot of people, unfortunately, in America are just kind of sticking in the safety needs where they're more at the personal security, the employment, the resources, and they're focusing just on that. But when you're only focused on that, you can't move up the chain. The next level over safety is love and belonging. So do you have friendships? Do you have intimacy, family, and a sense of connection? Now, I'm not saying that people who are stuck in the safety needs, they don't have family, they don't have intimacy, but do they really have the sense of connection? Are they really able to dedicate the time that they need to those things? Above that is esteem. So do you have respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, and we always talk about financial freedom. And only when you're able to kind of reach all of those levels can you actually go to the final one, which is the self-actualization. So desire to become the most that you can be.
I love that.
And that's where I feel I am right now, and I'm trying to I'm trying things, throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what works. And I really like that we've been able to meet, start the podcast.
Yeah.
Even if we only reach one person and our words change one person's life, if that could be the same thing that happened to me. I just heard about fire on a podcast and I was like, what is that? What is fire? And then I Googled fire and of course it just pulls up a bunch of fire.
Yeah.
And then I had to finally realize FIRE is an acronym for financial independence, retire early. And then I started delving down the rabbit hole. And then that's what kind of led me to where we are now today.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. No, I think that's a really good tool for, the structure of how things really are. I think that's a really good way. I love that, desire to become your best version. I think that's definitely what I'm shooting for every day is just be my best self. But I'm still getting up there with the safety needs and the love and belongings and stuff like that. And I feel like I have self-respect for myself, self-esteem.
And remember, it's not like it's an all or nothing type thing. And these things do wax and wane too. There are times where even I feel like I might not be focused on self-actualization and more I'm focused on love and belonging. These things can move up and down.
Definitely.
But, if you're really stuck on the bottom rungs, it's very difficult to move up.
Yeah. So what's like the first step we can take?
Yeah. So first one for this is your guys' homework this week.
Love it.
This is your first project. I want you to create a list. Consider writing down what truly brings you joy in life. Write them down, your top 10 things. Like we talked about at the beginning, we're bringing it back. If you have a spouse, do this with them. I would say you do it on your own page and they do it on their page. That way you guys aren't influencing one another.
Yeah.
And then you guys can also compare and see what things are the same, what things are different. Once you have those 10 things that bring you the most joy in life, and this isn't an easy thing to do. It sounds easy to write down what top 10 things bring you the most joy, but it's not very easy. After that, I want you to look at those top 10 things and then say, am I spending my time, my resources, and my money on these 10 things? Or are they going towards something else?
Yeah. Yeah. So could you give us an example of like 10 things, maybe not 10 things specifically, but a few things that might be in your list?
Yeah. For me, it's spending quality time with my family. For right now, that's my wife and my dogs.
And the cat.
And the cat.
And the
Thank
cat.
you.
Can't forget the cat.
Can't
in
forget.
case the cat watches the podcast.
Can't forget Kylea.
Yep.
So yeah, there's spending time with my animals. Then the next thing is spending time with my friends, and being able to be like a good steward. After that, it's probably feeling that sense of security for me is always really big. Growing up, I didn't have that sense of security. That's something I still struggle with today. Feeling that I have enough. And then I think after that, for me, the biggest thing is autonomy of time.
Yeah.
Like you said, being able to do what I want when I want. Just for
Traveling and
travel.
Yeah. Just enjoy your money and enjoy your life. You only get one. So let's enjoy it.
Yes, let's enjoy it. So before we close out, I want to bring on a new section if you're okay with that.
I love new sections.
Can we call it the win of the week?
I love that.
Okay.
I love that.
So I have a win of the week I want to go over, and I think hopefully you got one. So as I talk, you start thinking.
I'll think of one.
So my win of the week this week, my wife and I, we are, like I said a few times, we're planning on having kids. So we're going to be traveling like crazy over this next
Pre-kid era.
8 months or so before we decide before we start settling down on that. So we are planning a bunch of huge trips. I just got back from the Kern River,
Alaska, Japan.
You're going on a big trip soon too.
I'm going on a big trip too. Yeah, that's true.
When you come back 2 days later, I'm actually going to Costa Rica, or not Costa Rica. I'm sorry, to Cancun for 5 days.
That's cool. That's cool. Oh,
but right now, the big thing we're trying to plan out is Japan.
That's a big one.
Japan's been tough. You're gonna like this. We decided we're gonna go to Disney Japan.
Oh,
we're gonna go there.
Gosh.
See Japan too. I didn't.
Yeah, it's so cool.
You gotta talk to me about it.
Oh,
we'll talk about it
it's
off camera.
cool. Yeah.
As we're gonna do that.
That's
but
awesome.
Our win of the week. If you guys watch any of our videos, I think one of our biggest ones that people really liked was our credit card hacking one.
Yep.
Yep. So I always talk about sign-up bonuses and how valuable those are. So right now, the American Express Platinum, they have a bonus of 80,000 points for $8,000 spent in the first 6 months.
Yeah.
Due to some of the forums that I'm on and different things, my wife actually found this, not me, because she's actually gotten bigger into credit card hacking.
I love it.
Into credit card hacking than I was.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
Good for her.
Yeah. So
Shout out to her.
She's a champ at it.
I love that. That's so important.
Yeah, and
That's so
it's such a
cool.
fun game for both of us to play.
Yeah.
But she was actually able to find a bonus, so we were able to find an affiliate link that allowed us to get 150,000 points. The average is 80, so it nearly doubled for the same amount of spend in 8 months. So we found that last night. That 150,000 points is equivalent to my rough estimation, 2,700 or 2,750.
That's awesome.
Yeah, in value.
Yeah.
For that credit card. So she applied last night. She got approved. We should have it by tomorrow, maybe the next day. Have that new credit card in the mail.
It's a pretty nice credit card, isn't it?
Oh, it's my dopest card. I don't think it's the best for like everyday spend because it'll get you 1 point back. But you do feel like a baller where you get to throw that heavy card down.
Is it metal?
Oh yeah, it's super metal.
Oh.
And then they have different versions of it. So they have the normal platinum that's just platinum. They have one that has like a little bit of like artsy like.
What was the name of the card?
American Express Platinum.
American Express Platinum.
The only one that's higher than that would be the American Express Black.
That one's tough to get into.
Yeah, we actually looked into that last night. You have to spend between $500,000 and $1 million a year on your American Express card to be offered it.
Yeah, because it's invitation only.
Invitation only. Yeah. But the platinum gets you pretty much all the same things, but you don't have the black one to be like, it's black. It's cooler than yours.
Yeah, get some spray paint maybe.
I don't know. in this Centurion Lounge, if you have the black one, they do have special seating that only black card members get to sit at.
Black card members.
Black card members get to sit at, but it doesn't really make that big of a difference. Like maybe their couch is slightly cushier.
Yeah.
But I don't know about spending $1 million on a card.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's big baller stuff.
And my wife and I were talking about, like, even if we ever had that money, would we do it? No, because we can optimize it by spending on other cards and continue to do what we're doing.
Yeah. No, that's wild though. Yeah. So you're gonna you got a huge bonus on a new credit card. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So my what's the name of our new segment?
Win of the week.
Win of the week. My win of the week is I'm actually going to Disney World and a Disney cruise for my birthday. I love this is why he mentioned the Disney stuff. I love Disney stuff. My mom and I, our entire tree for Christmas is completely Disney. Mm-hmm. We're Disney freaks, Disney addicts, as one would say.
Last time I was in his house, you had just a Disney channel playing on repeat.
true.
I was like, what's going on over here?
It's true. It was the ambience from Disney World Epcot, and it was just on a loop. Like Chris came in, he's like, "Oh, that's nice," and he walked out. He's like, "That's still on." I'm like, "Yeah, it's on all the time." Yeah, honestly, I do put on like a little "Living with the Land" music, which is a ride in Epcot. It's like a nice guitar piece. I looked and I was doing work editing yesterday. I had the thing on for like 2.5 hours.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was nice. But back to credit card hacking win of the week. My mom actually had a credit card that she racked up enough points and she got all of our flights there and back for free.
Really? What credit card you get?
You know, I'm not 100% sure. I think it was, I don't want to say it and be wrong because I know they'll kill me in the comments, but you know, it was because my mom, you know, she's in her 60s. She's not big on the computers as one would be in her 60s, but she's really good. Props to her. So she called them up. She's like, you know, I got some points on this card. Can I use them? And they're like, absolutely, man. And she's like, well, what can I use them on? And they're like, you can just get all of your tickets paid for the flights. And we're just like, that's freaking awesome. We got like 2 free bags included too, because it's a 10-day trip. It's gonna be a while, but. Yeah, that's our financial win of the week.
Now I know your mom listened to the podcast.
She did.
Did we
Yes.
inspire her
Yes.
in any way,
Yes,
shape,
we
or
did.
form? Look at that. We're making an impact on lives.
Yep. So she after she saw our episode, she did a little bit more research on the credit card hacking, and she understands the points now, and she understands what she can use for that. You know, but just taking that first step into that world. And just using your points for something, that's a big win.
Yeah.
That's a big win.
You know, one other, I'm going to add one more win of the week.
Okay.
Just if you guys don't mind.
No.
So yesterday I actually got interviewed by a writer for Geared Magazines.
Okay.
Regarding credit card hacking.
Cool.
So, yeah, I think in a month or so that'll publish.
Oh my God.
Talk about my firm, Mons on Wealth. Because for my firm, I'm a financial advisor as well. You know, I focus a lot on not just planning for retirement. Of course, that's always important, and planning for your goals, but also living for today. So I'm one of the few proponents as an advisor who actually teaches my clients how to credit card hack, how to do those things. So we're able to take that into the realm of how can this help small business owners, how can this help every individual person, because most advisors aren't talking about this kind of stuff.
No.
Because it's outside of their wheelhouse, or they're just mostly focused on the investing side.
That's exciting.
Yeah, not on the holistic side. And
that's
so
awesome.
I think it's kind of cool.
That's super cool. That's awesome. You're in a magazine now.
Yeah, so I'll when it comes out, we'll put it in the comments or something.
That's super cool.
But yeah, again, guys, let's go back to the actionable step of the week, shall we? We kind of got off topic.
We got to the fun side of finance.
Yeah. So again, we're all talking about finding your why, how important finding your why is, because this is an unconventional path, and it's going to be fraught with twists and turns and ups and downs, and it's not always easy. We try to make it sound as easy as we can, but I'm going to be honest, it's not. It's different. It's very, very different.
Yeah.
So finding your why, your homework assignment is to make a list. If you have a spouse, please do this with them on separate pieces of paper. Write down the 10 things in your life that bring you the most joy. What things do you value the most in life? What brings you the most joy entirely? And then after you're done with those, if you have a spouse, compare it with them, compare, contrast, maybe make circles around the ones that
Are super important.
are similar or are together.
Yep.
And try to make that. Maybe you guys can combine your top 10, take things off each other and make it that. And then after that, I want you to look at where you're spending your time, where you're spending your money, where you're spending your resources, and are they aligned with those top 10 things?
Absolutely.
And if not, then we have things to do. So I'm going to have you do the conclusion, then I'll do the closing remarks, and we'll get out of here.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for joining us on today's financial independence journey. Your why is your North Star, guiding you towards a life aligned with your values. In future episodes, we are diving deeper into the practical aspects of FI. So I hope to see you next time. Stay tuned. All of that. Would you like to
Finish this off?
Go for it. Let's see it.
If you found today's episode inspiring, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners. Join us for our next episode where we'll be exploring the tools and strategies that the FI community has tried and tested. Until then, keep your why in focus and start your journey in financial independence today.
Awesome. See you guys.
Later. This podcast is sponsored by Mons on Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. Always consult a financial professional before making any financial decisions. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests and not of the podcast sponsor.